Craigmillar Castle is a ruined medieval castle in Edinburgh, Scotland. It is 3 miles (4.8 kilometers) southeast of the city centre, on a low hill to the south of the modern suburb of Craigmillar. The Preston family of Craigmillar, the local feudal barons, began building the castle in the late 14th century, and building works continued through the 15th and 16th centuries. In 1660, the castle was sold to Sir John Gilmour, Lord President of the Court of Session, who breathed new life into the aging castle. The Gilmours left Craigmillar in the 18th century for a more modern residence, nearby Inch House, and the castle fell into ruin. It is now in the care of Historic Environment Scotland as a scheduled monument and is open to the public. Craigmillar Castle is best known for its association with Mary, Queen of Scots. Following an illness after the birth of her son, the future James VI, Mary arrived at Craigmillar on the 20th of November 1566 to convalesce. Before she left on the 7th of December 1566, a pact known as the Craigmillar Bond was made, with or without her knowledge, to dispose of her husband Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. Craigmillar is one of the best preserved medieval castles in Scotland. The central tower house, or keep, is surrounded by a 15th century courtyard wall with particularly fine defensive features. Within this are additional ranges, and the whole is enclosed by an outer courtyard wall containing a chapel and a dovecote. The lands of Craigmillar were granted to the monks of Dunfermline Abbey by King David I in the 12th century. The Preston family were first granted land in the area by King David II in 1342 and held 2/3 of the estate. In a further grant of 1374, King Robert II gave the remaining lands of Craigmillar to Sir Simon de Preston, Sheriff of Midlothian. It was Simon's son, Simon Preston, or his grandson, Sir George Preston, who began work on the tower house which now forms the core of the castle. This was in place by 1425, when a charter was sealed at Craigmillar by Sir John Preston. The courtyard wall was probably added by Sir William Preston, 1453, who had travelled in France, and drew on continental inspiration for his new work. He also brought back the arm of St. Giles, which he presented to the High Kirk of Edinburgh, where the Preston Isle is named for him. In 1479, John Stuart, Earl of Mar, brother of King James III, was held prisoner at Craigmillar, accused of practicing witchcraft against the king. He later died in suspicious circumstances. 16th century. In 1511 Craigmillar was erected into a barony, and the outer courtyard was built around this time, possibly by another Simon Preston, D.1520, Member of Parliament for Edinburgh in 1487, who had succeeded in 1478. In September 1517, during an outbreak of plague in Edinburgh, the infant James V of Scotland moved to safety at Craigmillar. His French guardian de la Bastille had new locks made for his chamber and the 2 iron gates, and a stable was built for the king's mule. The family chapel within the outer court was first recorded in 1523. During the so-called rough wooing of Henry VIII of England, the English attempted to impose, by military force, a marriage between Edward, Prince of Wales, and the young Mary, Queen of Scots. Craigmillar Castle was burned by English troops under the Earl of Hertford on the 8th of May, after he had sacked Edinburgh. Sir Simon Preston, D.1569, had the castle repaired, with domestic ranges in the courtyard being remodeled. Preston served as Lord Provost of Edinburgh for several years and was a loyal supporter of Queen Mary, who appointed him to her Privy Council. That is all. Subscribe and post comments for future videos.